Lloyd, are you ready to do a podcast episode preaching to everyone about why they should give up alcohol for good and make them feel shit if they're not going to?
Yeah, because we're better than them.
On a serious note, I think we want to do an episode about having breaks from alcohol because I think
We're better people.
Yeah, we're basically better than you. But
you.
I think it's important to make the point, like there is people who sort of give up alcohol and then they preach to you, or not just necessarily give up alcohol or start doing something else in their life, and then they're like, if you're not doing this, you're a shit person. Really, this isn't that.
No.
This is just an honest discussion about something we've done that we feel I feel quite positive about, and I thought others may find interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Especially as alcohol's been such a big part of our lives, I think.
Yeah. We're currently on day 25.
Well,
What do you mean, well?
you are.
Oh, did you drink? Where did you drink?
I'm on day 11.
You didn't tell me.
I just had 2 beers one day.
Did you? When was that then?
When I went to London with Sarah.
Oh my God, you're such a shit person.
I
You actually
know.
didn't tell me that.
Well, because, do you know what? I didn't not tell
I love
you.
it that you waited to the podcast to let me know this.
But I didn't tell you. And then I noticed you said something like, oh, me and Lloyd are done 2 weeks now. And I was like on day 4 or something. Yeah. Well,
But also, no, in all seriousness, that's fine. No, fine.
yeah. So now, originally in the podcast, we thought me and Dan were better than you listeners. If you're,
No, it's
if
just
you drink
me.
alcohol. Now Dan's better than me, and I'm slightly better than you listeners. If you drunk in the last 11 days.
At the same time, though, we haven't given up. Obviously, you haven't, and I haven't given up alcohol for good. This is why the episode at the end it says in brackets sometimes, because we tend to have breaks from alcohol. But I personally still enjoy drinking alcohol.
Yeah, good. I do too. Sometimes. But why do you drink alcohol? Obviously, other than the last 24 days or whatever.
I think that's a good question. I think a number of reasons. I guess it's habitual. Like from a young age, drinking was a thing. So, you get used to doing something. It's like, what do I do when I meet my mates? I drink. What do I do when I go out for dinner? Have a nice wine with dinner. It's like that habitual thing.
Yeah.
I think that's one reason. I guess another reason is I feel like I enjoy it sometimes. Like when it's summer and you go for a beer in the sun.
Yeah.
There's like weird times when drinking, I feel like it's like, oh, that's brilliant. Or like I said, like a glass of wine with dinner on a Sunday with a roast. Or pre-drinking with my mates when we're all getting excited to go out. That's always the best bit. And then it kind of goes downhill from there. But I don't know. What about you? Why do you drink, Lloyd?
Simple answer, I would say. I'm addicted, I would say.
Okay.
I think... Tay's laughing behind the camera. Luckily, that wasn't too much of a serious addiction I was talking about. No, I genuinely think more people, certainly in the UK, more people have a level of addiction to alcohol than I'm not saying I'm addicted as in I feel I've got a problem more so than the average person, but I think there's the sort of biological addiction of like, oh, you have withdrawal from alcohol, and then you're like, oh, I'd like to have one to make me feel good. But there's also and this isn't like a scientific term, but like the kind of social addiction, as in since I was 16, there's been 2 or 3 parties I've ever been to where I haven't had a drink, whereas there might have been 150 I've been to where I have had a drink. So it's like almost that I've never experienced these things sober in my adult life. So it's almost like the habitual kind of addiction, like you said, of like, I've never done this. So I immediately go to the norm of I will have a beer in this situation.
It's interesting you say the word addiction, because I think a lot of people, if you said to them you're addicted to alcohol, they'd be very defensive, because addiction sounds like you've got a problem that you can't manage.
I would describe...
Well, what is it? Yeah,
I would say, like, in my opinion, you and I both have a level of addiction to alcohol. Because I think so I've heard you say this, but if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. It's a summer's day you see someone in a beer garden drinking a beer and you get that feeling of, I want to do that. Like, there's not, I think there must be a level of addiction where you see other people drinking this fluid and your body immediately, like, I want to put that in my body. That clip's going to be used, isn't it, for weird things? I can see Tay looking at the time of the clip, noting it down. But do you know what I mean? Like, I know we talk about, and I completely understand people have addiction to alcohol that ruins their lives and kills them sometimes, and that's very serious.
I guess there's levels,
and that's a different level to what I'm talking about. But I do think we need to be open as a society that I think there's levels of addiction that I have, and I believe most of my family and friends have, to alcohol. And it's an addictive substance, and most of us drink it a lot. Yeah. So surely that's correct.
Well, I'm interested in what the actual definition of addiction is. And I've just Googled it. So this is what Google says.
Yeah. Addiction:
the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance or activity. Doesn't necessarily define what addiction is. Addiction where your body has a reaction to thinking about doing something that encourages you to then do it. Like, because when did you? So say I've just turned 18 and I have my first beer and I think, oh, that's good. I might do that every weekend now.
Yeah.
Are you addicted then, or?
Well, I don't know, but put it this way. I think overall, alcohol has a negative effect on my life.
But you're still doing it.
But I've been doing it since I was 15, regularly, almost every week for the last 18 years. Do you see what I mean? Like, surely there's analysing it, I do think overall it's more of a negative than a positive, and has been for most of that time.
Yeah.
Like, I guess when looking back, I'm thinking, imagine if I was sober, how much I would have achieved and how much happier I would have felt and how much healthier I would have been. I think it's got an overall negative effect. I'm open to that. Yeah. But I still... So now, if you guys were all having a beer, I would be trying not to. I'd be wanting to have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Surely that's a level of addiction.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
This isn't like... I'm not crying out for help or anything. But I just think we should be more open to the fact that it's a drug. It's an addictive drug. And nearly all of us drink it loads, and... Surely
I do think it's good that you're open to even to saying that. But when you think about it, you are kind of right. I reckon most. So were you saying that listeners to this podcast, if they're drinking every week, say, would you say they're addicted to alcohol?
Well, I suppose I don't know what's going on in their brains and bodies.
Right.
But I think there's certainly most people, there's a level of that. Yeah. If you're taking it, and even if you don't think you are taking an addictive drug regularly.
Yeah.
Even if you think, I'm not addicted, I can give up. Like, I've been giving up for a period of time. And still I went to London, and even though I was really like, I'm not going to drink, I had 2 beers.
Yeah.
Even though I was so like, I'm not going to, something's happened there.
You're that weak.
Yeah. Just terrible person.
No, I'm joking. No, but it's interesting. So okay, so what made you start having breaks from alcohol, and why?
Well, you were my inspiration.
Well, no, didn't you? When was the first time you had a break from drinking? It wasn't like this month. You've done it before.
No,
I thought
the start of this year was. Well, no, I've probably done a
couple of days.
Yeah, a couple of days here and there. No, I think this year was probably the first time I've done like a month, and that was because you were doing it. I thought, I'll try this, and that's when I started thinking more about analysing why I drink and stuff, and then it gets you thinking. Doesn't
it? This month we're in now, I decided to do it, and I just said to you, "Do you want to do it with me?" And you were just instantly like, "Yeah, all right." It wasn't even you didn't even think about it.
I think because throughout this year I've been thinking more and more. I'm happier and feel my life is better when I don't drink overall. And so then but I would say, obviously we've spoken about this, but I would say I'm still addicted to alcohol. So still, even though I'm thinking that, I'm like, I'd like to go out for some beers with my mates this weekend, but I'm stopping myself doing it. But having an incentive like you having a break pushed me to then be like, yep, I'm doing it too. But I've spoken a lot about saying how I think it is more addiction. How do you feel? Why do you drink?
I think it is.
I still don't want to say that.
It is
Why
no.
do you drink?
It is the habitual thing. I think from listening to you, I hadn't thought about it that way, but it is probably some level of addiction. And yeah, it's an addictive substance that we have been drinking for 15 years. Like, so it's you'd think logically like that's doing something to make you, when you go out in an evening, you want a beer. When you meet in the sun, so yeah. But in terms of why I started having breaks, similarly to you, and I think this is one of the best ways for anyone to have a break from alcohol, and we'll talk about the benefits in a minute, is because my mate was doing it.
Yeah.
My mate, Leandro, was, at the start of this year, he did 4 months off drinking. And he started by saying, I'm going to do the whole year off drinking. And he basically put like a $2,000 bet on with his parents that he's going to give up drinking for the whole year. And it made me think, he's someone who I've drunk with every weekend for 10 years. And I went to uni with him. And he's decided to do this thing that's like, and I looked at him and I thought, if he can do that, I can do a month. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give up drinking for a month. I ended up doing 2 months at the start of the year. I went on a ski holiday with you, and every ski holiday we drink a lot, and I didn't drink anything, and neither did he. But the reason I did it was because he wasn't doing it. And it made me think, I can do that. Yeah. Which is a very weird, like, sheepish following someone else because they're doing it. But
I think that's the point for both of us this year, where we have then felt once you do it for a month, you actually start noticing differences in your life and benefits, and potentially the negative side as well. And that's when I guess it starts making you think, because you think, oh, this is what it feels like. This is what my life's like if I don't have alcohol involved. And it is different. I think that there are negatives for me, social situations and stuff where I've drunk for my whole adult life are obviously very different.
Yep.
So it's getting used to that. But I think the main benefit for me is that feeling of like just level, like, you know where you are. When you're drinking, it's like these ups, these massive ups, and then you go down and you feel tired and you kind of build back up to normal life, and then there's this big peak and then you feel really tired. Yeah. Like once you get into like a steady state of just feeling good and like productive and happy, it's hard to describe, but that's
exactly what I remember when we were on the skiing trip and Leandro and I were in the jacuzzi in the hotel and we weren't drinking, and we were talking about this. It really is that, and this is the positives and negatives of not drinking. I think the negatives, I feel, you don't have the big highs, the excitement when you're all with your mates doing pre-drinks and you're all getting excited. You're not at that high, or having that beer in the sun, or really enjoying that wine with dinner. You haven't got those highs. But you also don't then have the lows of the next day feeling awful. And like you say, you are on that you're emotionally stable, I guess. It sounds dramatic, but your head is a lot clearer. And, but even saying all this, currently, I'm still want to do this in a way where I have breaks and I drink sometimes.
Well, that's the interesting thing we've been through. So we said, oh, you give up and then you don't kind of notice for the first week or so, and then you have a period and you really notice changes. But like you said, we're not coming from this preaching space, because throughout this year we've had times where we've given up for a stage and then we go back, and there's been quite long periods where we've probably both drunk quite a lot for our standards in those periods. That's the strange thing of like when we speak so positively when we're sober,
we still go back to drinking.
Go back to drinking and do it for a long time and are like, yeah, we're having a good time. I guess why are we doing that? Because surely drinking must have benefits that outweigh the negatives if we're choosing to do that. Do you know what I mean?
I personally think it's because what I said about the highs, it's missing the highs. The high highs, and it's that whole thing of like everything's been steady for a while. Brilliant, I feel clear, but I want a bit of a high. I want to get excited with my mates for a bit. Or like, I also tend to associate it. It's that habitual thing. I associate it with if something really positive happens at work, if we win a big new client, my brain goes, let's have a drink to celebrate. My brain does that. Like, let's do something, have a drink because something exciting's happened, either at work or outside of work, which is strange. Something else I noticed when I spoke about this before publicly when I shared about having a break from alcohol and posted about it, I noticed lots of people feel the need in the comments to justify why they don't need breaks because they don't feel like they've got a problem because they do it in a manageable way, which is interesting. And I think what could cause a stir is your thing of saying a lot of people are addicted without even knowing it, because that's kind of what you're implying,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I think most people that drink regularly, there's a level of addiction there.
I reckon there'll be lots of people that say that will disagree with you. I'd be interested to hear.
But then but I see the heaviest drinkers that I know, or no, not even the heaviest drinkers. I'd say at least 50% of people that drink regularly that I know, it doesn't seem like it seems like it's overwhelmingly negative for them, but they're still doing it. And like, so that's what I've recognised in me as well. I think overwhelmingly it's negative. There's some positives I get from it, and I obviously really enjoy it, but I think it is overall negative. So if it is that, why
and you're still doing it,
and you're still doing it, surely there's something at play that isn't just your choices.
Yeah. I think this will really get people thinking, because even having this conversation with you, when you said the addicted thing, it made me think, shit, I am actually addicted to alcohol.
Like, do you know what? So much so, sorry to say I'm not always focusing on everything you're saying, but because we've been talking about alcohol, in my mind about a minute
you
ago,
want a beer?
I was thinking I might have some drinks tonight. And I was kind of justifying in my head, like, yeah, that'd be good. I might see if any of my mates are around.
Whilst I'm talking about this, you're actually not listening to me and thinking I might go for beers tonight.
The reason I wanted to say that was because how mental that is.
Yeah.
I'm talking about how alcohol is negative for me overall.
You're thinking I want to get.
I'm saying how I think a lot of us are addicted and don't realise. And at the same time in my head, I'm trying to justify to myself tonight having some drinks. And I think it's probably because we're just talking about alcohol and my brain's thinking, yeah, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, let's have some of that inside me. That's another one.
Again.
Oh, that's a good soundbite, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Yeah. And I think there's because I've been thinking about this a lot, there's two reasons I drink, I think. One is to enhance a positive experience. So say, for example, I would say you're laying on a beach in Spain and you're an all-inclusive holiday and you're having a cocktail and you have a drink, you're having a great time, just that little bit of a buzz, you're like, oh, this is even better. I'm in this great situation and this has just made it a bit better. Oh, nice. My brain's it's a little tingle, like, oh, this is good.
Just on that point, me and you remember those times when we used to buy those like big cans of Brewdog beer that were like 11%, and we'd say we'd be cooking dinner, and you'd be cooking dinner a bit like waving, like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, we spoke about that little buzz, didn't we, of like cooking a roast dinner. Oh, 11% Brewdog. Have a couple of glugs of that. Oh hello. So there's the thing of like, and that can be for social situations as well. Oh, I'm at a wedding. My best friend's getting married, and it's this high, and I'm going to have drinks and be like celebrating this thing, and it's made it even better. And then I think more so in the past, now analysing it, which is slightly depressing, I drink to make something that's less enjoyable for me more enjoyable. And this sounds quite harsh, but I think in a lot of social situations over the years, I've drunk because I've thought either I don't really want to be here. Obviously, by the way, if you've ever drunk with me, this probably doesn't count for when I was with you. I probably really liked it. But like, I know there's been some work things we've been to, or I've been to on my own, and I've not with the team, Tate. Sorry, I'm looking at me. Well, actually, if I'm honest, sometimes maybe. But like, I remember a networking event somewhere in Ashford or something, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go to this. And someone else was driving, and so I had like 4 glasses of wine, and I know that was just because I was thinking, not enjoying this, so I'll drink so it's better. And then there's been social situations like meeting my mates in a pub. I think there's been lots of times when actually I haven't wanted to have a drink, but I've drunk because I thought this will be rubbish if they're all drinking and it won't be enjoyable for me, so I'll drink so that it is.
Yeah.
That's not because I don't like my friends or I don't like the people I was meeting at the work event, but I do think being really critical of myself and my thinking. Over the years, I've drunk where I potentially should be thinking, should I be doing something else with my time if I'm not enjoying that? Or should I be looking for the things to enjoy within that situation rather than avoiding thinking about it and just drinking so I enjoy it more?
Yeah.
Does that make
So
sense?
overall, in summary, our opinion, I feel like we're quite aligned, is that at least having breaks is a positive thing, is a net positive thing.
Yeah.
And probably having longer breaks moving forward it will be even more positive.
And do you know what? I reckon potentially one or both of us in the long term might not drink, as in be completely sober for the rest of our lives from some point. I think that could be likely, but I think it's probably, and part of this whole addiction thing, and whether it's like a biological addiction or more social and habitual, it will probably take I reckon, I might be analysing myself here, I reckon I'll gradually have longer breaks until my addiction and the things I do socially, I kind of adapt so that I no longer want or need to have a drink.
That's what I think I'll do. This year I set myself a goal of not drinking for 3 months, and this will be my 4th month. Next year I want to do 6 months, and I'm going to do the same as you and keep. So for people, so the final kind of thing for people or anchors who are listening, who are thinking, you know what, I might give that a go, having a break, and you definitely should because of what we've said. What tips do you have for someone who's listening thinking, I want to have a break, but maybe like all my friends drink, and how am I going to deal with social situations? And what can I do to make this an easy process to have a break?
A big thing for me is just doing what I've been doing this year and actually thinking about why you're drinking. I think that's a good first step.
Really is.
Because we've all been doing it. Well, I say we've all. Your listeners, you're in a different situation, but a lot of us in the UK culture just drink because that's what everyone does. I think actually starting to think why you are is a good start. And you may be someone that alcohol is an overall positive for at this stage in your life. And I think that's cool. Like if you're like, I do it because I have a great time with my mates and there's no negative effect for me. It's like, okay, cool.
Drink every day.
But if you, drink every day, every morning. But if you think about it and you're kind of like, oh, I'm drinking because I don't really feel confident in social situations, so I'm going to have a drink, then it's a bit of a prompt to think, actually, maybe deal with that issue rather than using drink to get you through it. Or it might be like, oh, I'm going to drink because I don't want to be here. Well, maybe deal with that issue. Why are you in a position where you don't want to be there? That would be one thing I'd say. What about you, Dan? Any tips to...
I think there's a few things. So gamifying it. So there's an app I downloaded called I Am Sober, where it basically tracks your days and it gives you motivation and stuff. And stupidly, it's so simple, but seeing the number of days go up and like a little graph showing how much money you've saved and various things like that is cool. So that's something, and it's free. The other thing of doing it with someone else, I think whenever you do it with someone else, you feel like whenever you're kind of on the brink of like, oh, I might just have a drink, I kind of feel like I don't want to let them down. Like, obviously you didn't think that, Lloyd, when you let me down.
No, but do you know what? I did. And I think that's why I stopped only having 2 drinks as well, because I kind of thought, oh, I shouldn't really do. And yeah, so even when I was tempted, that made me stop and not just go, oh, I'm going to drink all the time.
But also, you don't want to, like we don't want to be the preachy people. You don't want to feel like, you're pressured by someone else to do that as well. I think you've got to do what's right for you. I think
but not drinking is right for me, I'd say.
Yeah.
But should we have a drink?
A couple of other things. Do other fun things instead of drinking. Don't just sit around thinking how rubbish life is because you're not drinking.
And you do have more time when you're not hungover.
Yeah.
God, weekends are so much longer.
Yeah.
Like a Saturday morning at 8 a.m., which I'd say if I've had a drink the night before, I'm not saying, oh, I'm like so hungover I can't move, but just basically a bit groggy, don't want to do much. Yeah. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm going to water those plants. Oh, I'm going to iron that thing. Oh, I'm going to think of a new business idea. And it's like suddenly you've got all this time and actually thinking, I know you've done well with this, with your friends, because my friends aren't having breaks from alcohol. Your group of friends going, oh, what should we do instead of drink? And you've like been going to spas and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I think overall, without being preachy, I think anyone who drinks regularly or sometimes, my personal experience and our personal experience is having a break is a cool new kind of feeling and makes you feel good.
If anyone wants to do a bit of a longer break from alcohol or try this for the first time, I think I should do that as well. I think it'd be good. If any of you listeners want to do it, DM me. We could have a little WhatsApp group or something, and we could set ourselves a target, and that might help. Like we're saying, doing it with people. If I've got like 18 of you in a WhatsApp group, and we're all like, right, let's not drink for 60 days or something random like that, or we can like that will make us do that. So yeah, let me know. DM me or whatever if you do want to give it a go. Cool. It's had overwhelmingly positive results for us just drinking less this year, I think.
Yeah.
So certainly would encourage other people to try it. Even if you're thinking it won't positively affect you,
give it a go.
Try it and then
see if it does.
See if it does. Yeah.
So yeah, as always, we're talking about things that are going on in our life currently that hopefully might be interesting to you. Hopefully you found this interesting. If you have, please do share it with someone else who you might want to not drink with for a bit or that you think might find it useful. And other than that,
see you in your ears
next week.
All right, let's get on the beers.